All right, family. I am live and I'm back. Let me know if this is better. I hope I'm not freezing at this moment because I know the last one I was freezing, but I am here. In the meantime, in between time, I need to go ahead and share this with my Facebook community all over again. So, in the meantime, as I'm sharing this video, I'm going to ask that you guys do the same thing. Go ahead and share the video. It costs us nothing to share the video. It doesn't cost you a penny, a dime, a cent, or a nickel. Just share the video. And while you at it, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel here on YouTube, hitting the notification bell so you can know when I'm going live. We're going to have an awesome conversation about Joe Biden and the Breakfast Club. OMG. Did you guys hear that Breakfast Club video with Charlamagne the God? I have notes, as y'all can see. My goodness, I transcribed almost everything that this man said. I took my time. I went over everything. I made sure that I understood him or didn't understand him so that when I'm having a conversation with you guys, I can bring to your attention things that you need to pay attention to. Because what I notice in our community, not for everybody, but for too many people in our community, if we're not careful, we just get so caught up on people and who they are affiliated with, who they are associated to, and we love the act of symbolism. We get caught up on this thing, we go with it, and what we fail to realize is that when we put people on pedestals, we don't really listen to their message. We don't vet what they're saying. We don't really even understand what they're saying. We just made up in our minds and made up in our hearts that this is the person we are going to support because of the propaganda that is out there that is telling us that we absolutely must, as a community of people, our community of people, we absolutely must get rid of Trump no matter what. So you have this whole narrative that's out there that is saying vote blue no matter who, and we're going to talk about that. I want you guys to make up your own mind as to what you're going to do. But I know, as for me and my vote, I don't buy into the narrative. I don't buy into the BS. You cannot fool me. I am not ignorant. I am not stupid. I am not without critical thoughts or critical discussion. So we have to really have this conversation in detail. So in the meantime, in between time, family, go ahead and share the video. Share the video on Facebook. Share the video on Instagram. Share the video on Twitter. Share the video on YouTube. Share the video everywhere. Let's have this conversation. Let's really join in. So TW is saying Joe thought us that he thought or he taught us that we are only black if we vote for him. You see, in TW, you're absolutely right, and that's the part that I'm noticing on social media that many people are honing in on. That is what they're focusing on, and that statement that he made, TW, came at the end of his 18-minute video. It came at the very end. And that is the only thing that we're catching on because that is the thing that has pulled the emotional strings of so many people in our community. And that's how we have gotten as a community of people. We are so emotional. You say anything about blacks, we're in uproar. We gotta stop focusing on those things. That thing was at the end of it. We cannot ignore all the other crap that was said, all the other gibberish that he was speaking, and only focus on that. So there's so much that has to go into this discussion tonight, family, and that's why I need y'all full participation. It's a Friday. It's a Friday night. We're going to be laid back. Yes, somebody said, bring it. I'm taking notes. I'm glad you have your notes. Now let's go back. Yes, Barbara, the shiny object. Joe Biden is the shiny object, so we would say for black people. But I have to say to you guys that in Joe's discussion today, he wasn't just speaking to black people. He was hiding it under the guise of black people and under the guise of African Americans, two terms that he used. He never said people of color or anything else. Those are the two terms that he used, but he had a lot of fluffy language that was not identifiable. And Charlamagne the God, although he tried, we're going to get onto Charlamagne a little bit later in this video. I know some of y'all love Charlamagne, but we're going to get into that too. Although he tried by bringing Joe on the Breakfast Club, Charlemagne did not do a great job at following up with some of these fluffy statements that were made, these buzzwords that were made, and these ambiguous terms that were made. So we're going to go over all of that today. So go ahead, family. Again, share the video, hit subscribe, and the notification bell, and share the give this video a thumbs up. So let's talk about how Joe Biden started this conversation. And that is critical for us to discuss because right now in America, the topic or the hot topic in America, not Black America per se, even though it's a topic in our community, but America as a whole. The topic that's on the table right now is COVID. So you have to understand why Joe Biden started the conversation as he did on COVID. And the minute he did that, my ears went up because as y'all would know, in Black media, that is among Black voices, that is the Black community with Black influencers, we have been talking about the conditions of Black folks when it comes to COVID and how COVID-19 is exposing our realities, right? It is exposing the injustice in our system. It is exposing the health disparities, the racial disparities and discrimination. COVID-19 is doing a great job as dismantling our community of people. And there's been a lot of hot topics. And for some reason in America, I mean, we know why, but for some people who don't know why, we'll just act as dumb as they do. But for some reason in Black America or America as a whole, when anything ill happens in America, when anything that is negative happens in America, the tables almost always get turned on us. The light is almost always shined on our community because let me tell you something. I said it before and I made up my own one. It says usually when white America gets sick, Black America gets the flu. When America gets sick, when white America gets sick, we get COVID-19. So we have to understand that anything that happens to America is going to be triple, quadruple times worse for us in our community. Everybody knows this and everyone knows why. So I don't know why Joe Biden was having this conversation as though for the first time in life, he's aware of all the social disparities. That's how I felt. You know, he started the conversation off by saying, COVID, the Black community is getting killed. You got to understand why he did that. He said the Black community is getting killed in response to what Charlemagne was talking about. Now, the minute he said that, I took out my loose leaf paper, like old school, right? My loose leaf paper, double-sided, and I started taking notes because I knew exactly what he was doing because it's a strategy. It's the art of influential power, right? They use certain buzzwords, keywords to get your attention. He did not go to the Breakfast Club by accident. He went there because of the audience. And what do we know when it comes to marketing strategies? What do we know when it comes to propaganda, family? Come on, this is a Friday night conversation. What do we know when it comes to propaganda and marketing strategies? We know the first 6 to 10 seconds, not 30 seconds, not 60 seconds, not 120 seconds. The first 6 to 10 seconds is the most important in capturing a person's attention. And what better way to capture the attention of the audience by recognizing the devastation that COVID-19 is leaving on the Black community, right? I love the way Charlemagne did not allow this joker to use that as his stepping stone. And Charlemagne went right into his voting history. I mean, his history of the Black community. But he went on to start using all this language that he wasn't really saying anything. But if you really pay attention to what he's saying, for example, he says, he went back to the 2016 polls, which is in reference to Trump running for office. And he said, 2016, the polls were totally different at that time. So he goes on to paint the picture that America has someone they didn't know at all. And what America wanted was change in the system. And that is why they voted for Trump. That is also a narrative that has been out there, and he's buying on it. But here's the reason why I want to focus on that for just a second. I'm not going to take long in there, because he started the strategy of dividing Democrats from Republican. Family, y'all got to understand that these are old techniques that people use. This is so old. But when we don't pay attention to what is coming out of the mouths of people who are vying for our votes, we will be bamboozled by anything they said. And so the minute he started to talk about the divide between the Democrats and the Republicans, I automatically knew that a lot of bullshit was going to come out of his mouth, and a lot of us in our community was going to get confused. They were going to follow this fool and what he was saying. And I'm here to push back against that narrative today. Y'all can vote for whoever you want to vote for. I'm just saying, look at what was said and look at the facts. Thank you so much for that donation, Michael Daniels. I appreciate that. Here's what he said. Let's go on. I'm going to skip all the thing about the Democrats and Trump, because I already told you guys what I want to say. Here's where he started to piss me off, is when he said that you guys are wondering. This is exactly what he said. I transcribed the whole video. Go back and watch it. Do not take my word for it. He said, you guys are wondering what he's doing, talking about Trump. Come on, man, get a life. So the first thing that came to my mind, I don't know about what you guys, when it came to my mind, he said, you guys, and he said, get a life, all in the same sentence. I wanted to know who the hell he was talking to. You see, here's the problem I have with what Joe did. Joe gotten too comfortable with our community. He is too comfortable with our community, and that's what entitlement looks like. I think that he is a pompous individual. I think that he just thinks automatically he's going to get the black vote, and I think that his dictation, or his diction is what I would say, of how he was presenting himself, tells me exactly what he thinks about us. You see, I don't know about you guys, but the minute he said that, you guys are wondering what he's doing. Come on, man, get a life. The minute he said that, the first thing that went to my mind was a fool, a character of somebody that okay, let me paint the picture, because I want you guys to know exactly what my mind is thinking about. Picture Joe with like some hip hop clothing on, with some shades. Thank you for the donation, Kareem. I appreciate that. With some shades, his hat turned to the back, and a Phillies blunt in his hand. Y'all get what I'm saying? It's sort of like he started to take on this personification. He started to take on this language. He started to take on this vibe that made me feel like he's too comfortable with us. He was presenting like he was our friend. And I understand that some people may not have even paid attention to that. Some people may have missed that in its entirety, but I didn't. Because I understand strategy, I understand marketing, I understand propaganda. And that's what Joe was using to his advantage. But it didn't work. It didn't work. He really got that backfire. Somebody's asking, why the hell is hip hop clothing? What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. After the video, you can go back and listen to what I said. I said, put the picture in your head just based on how he was speaking. Thank you for the donation, Gwendolyn. Based on how he was speaking, the way he was using his words. Come on, man, get a life. Who says stuff like that? You are vying for the position of president, and you're telling our community that you guys are wondering what's he doing. Come on, get a life. Who are you talking to? Like, you don't come on one of our platforms per se and talk to the community of people like that, as though that to me, that's no different than what's his name, the old guy that slurs a lot. He looks like he spits when he speaks. Y'all know the guy that y'all love so much. Y'all love him so much. I just was talking about this dude in a second. Come on, somebody tell me his name. The old guy that was running for president, that y'all guys, many of you guys love so much. Give me his name, somebody. Bernie, thank you so much, the story princess. Thank you. Remember that picture that was floating around with Bernie? He was eating a piece of chicken with a black man in the picture. So you guys got to understand that that's a strategy. That's a strategy because it's their way of identifying or making it seem like they are identifying with our community. It's a strategy. And so what tends to happen is people who buy into race neutral and colorblind policies and colorblind theories, they look at that kind of stuff and they take it on as though this person is for the community because they're eating our chicken. This person is for the community because they're using our slang. That's right, Jen. No shucking and jiving, Joe. And what that happens is we come on to these platforms and we watch them and we listen to them and they're talking all smooth, right? They have their smooth talk, their body language is smooth, they're eating chicken with us, they're doing a wobble with us on stage, and we think that stuff is cute. And when that kind of stuff happens, it takes over your mind and it causes you not to hear what is being communicated by the candidate. So let's get into that. Yes, Takesha, giving us falsehoods. That's exactly what it does. So let's get on to why that was dangerous, how he set that stage. And I bring that up because that happened at the very beginning of the interview. And once he did that, I was not surprised that he dominated the conversation. I was not surprised that he didn't let Charlemagne speak. I was not surprised that nothing he came out of his mouth was making sense. I watched the whole video from forward to backward, from forward to the end. And then I rewound it all the way and I watched it again and started to take notes because I didn't understand a goddamn thing that this man said. So here are all the areas. I'm going to tell you about this jive turkey. Here are all the areas that he slipped up on, that he didn't make sense. And I'm going to bullet point them. The first thing he said was, everybody know this. We have to come back. We have to fight back. And he was slurring when he was speaking. I know you're saying he's in the early stage of dementia. Maybe he is, I don't know. But in my field of work, if I had to peg anything about Joe looked like to me on the Breakfast Club that he was sipping maybe some Jack Daniels, some type of whiskey or something, some vodka, I don't know. He was sipping something before he came onto the Breakfast Club because none of his words made sense. He was slurring. He was all over the place. He was bouncing around and nothing followed. It never went from A, B, C, D. It didn't go into the order. Somebody said he was high. Maybe he was high, but I think he was drinking. I really do think that he was sipping. Joe was sipping, and his words were slurred. Go back and listen. He says the crisis sling slay. I don't know what that means. So maybe you guys can make out for me what he's saying. The crisis sling slay bears the institutionalized racism is still prevalent in our society. Listen to the keywords. See, he made no sense of what he said. Go back and listen. Don't take my word for it. At the very beginning, go back and listen. But he said the crisis slay bears the institutionalized racism is still prevalent in our society. And all the buzzwords, institutionalized racism, prevalent in our society, is going to get people saying, that's right. That's right. Joe was talking. Joe knows what? Joe didn't say anything. He said slay. What is that? Joe don't know nothing. But people will only hear institutionalized racism, prevalent in our society, and they will run with it. He goes on to say, right after that, he says we have to address, and I guess he's talking about institutionalized racism, by transforming our economy and this time bringing everybody along. We have to address by transforming our economy and this time bringing everybody along. What the hell was he talking about? Well, you were the vice president to Obama. Are you indicating that you're strategically left us out of that equation? Are you finally saying that? But see, if you don't ask those critical questions, and the way he started the conversation when he was talking about Trump, it makes it seem like Trump is leaving Black people out, right? He's leaving Black people out and he wants to bring everybody along. This time, bring everybody along. No, baby. You're going to have to be very clear of what you are talking about. And nothing, no questions were followed up by Charlemagne. This man made so many statements that were not followed up on, that I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And we don't know to this day what he meant. He goes on to say, he started to undermine the pillars of the economy before, and then he incompleted his sentence. I guess he was talking about Trump. He started to undermine the pillars of the economy before, never finished his sentence. Then he says, the blinders have been taken off. He started to undermine the pillars of our economy before, blah, 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 blah. The blinders have been taken off. What the hell is he talking about? Did anyone else catch that? Did anyone else catch what he said? I don't know what he was talking about. He says, now people recognize that these essential workers, now he goes back into the COVID thing. People recognize that these essential workers, a disproportionate amount of them are Africa Americas, not African Americans, we Africa Americas. They are breaking their necks. They are risking their lives. They are losing their lives. They are grocery store workers. They are bus drivers. They are delivery people. The people who are on the line, they are healthcare workers who are in a position where they are taking care of the nurse. And he goes, And he stutters and he goes, and they are making basically the minimum wage. What the hell is he talking about? Is he talking about certified nurses assistants? Because he said nurses. Now, how many of y'all, somebody say he's stroking out. How many of y'all in this community, this is just a Friday night conversation. We're just having a regular conversation. How many of y'all in this community are nurses? Yes, Tennessee, it was signaling. How many of you guys are nurses in this community? Let's talk about it. And if you are a nurse in this community, as a nurse, let's just be honest. Do you make minimum wage? Do you make minimum wage? Okay, RWP, she is a nurse. Let's give her a round of applause. I love my nurses. I love you guys. I love my doctors. Do you make minimum wage? Because no nurse that I know that's an actual nurse, I'm not talking about assistants, and no shade to the assistants, but no nurse, see, there go RWP. She said, nope, no nurse that I know makes minimum wage. But you see, when he starts throwing keywords in there, like minimum wage, and we know that COVID-19 has really affected the working poor, and it has really affected people in those jobs like bus drivers, transit, the people that have to go to work no matter what. Many of them, besides the working poor, transit workers, I don't know what city you live in, but I don't care if you were New York City Transit, Jersey Transit, the transits on this side of the country, they don't make pennies. They're not minimum wage workers. But he was just throwing in so many things, because what he's trying to do, family, is capture the attention of all the people that he's trying to get their votes. So you got to bring them all in to the category. But he does this without making sense. But this is the people that so many of us in our community wants to vote for. This is a man who had slurred speech. This is a man who never finished his sentences. This is a man that you couldn't understand what he was talking about. This is the man that was shucking and jiving. This is the man that was avoiding conversation. And this is a man who was shifting blame on everyone else other than himself. But he knew how to use the buzzwords. He knew how to use the trigger words that's going to get our attention. There was no reason for Charlemagne to sit there quiet and not challenge this guy. Right? I understand he was letting him speak, but he has to understand communication strategies. And people like Joe Biden, they know if they talk over you and over talk you, they're going to dominate the conversation so that you won't ask them any questions and publicly make them look like a fool. And so if you're going to interview somebody like Joe Biden, who is disrespecting the Black vote, somebody like Joe Biden that thinks just because of his relationship to Obama, he is going to get the vote. If you're going to interview somebody like that, you have to have tougher skin. You have to go right for the kill. You have to know how to control the conversation. I don't mind if the man talks, but the man has to talk based on the questions that we are asking when he's doing things like us and we. Who are you speaking about? So I don't know about you guys, but I don't know what the hell he was talking about. And I don't know who the hell he was talking to because none of his language made sense. Let's go into some other things that he said. He said, this time, when we come back, we not only have to rebuild, move this along, we not only rebuild, we have to transform this economy. We can create millions of new jobs, buzzword, in transportation energy structure. We can, there's jobs, and then he stutters, a job that is a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about how you are treated. What the hell is he talking about? And that's how we built from the working class to the middle class. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to that right there. So yes, Barbara, who is we? Let's go back. I want y'all to pay attention to the end of part where he said, and that's how we built from the working class to the middle classes. I'm going to take you guys on a little history journey. Got to listen to the buzzwords, but let's go back. We can create millions of new jobs. That is everybody's talking point who is running for presidency. What new jobs are you talking about? Because if you understand history, after the baby boomers had their run in jobs that were secure, we, my generation, which is Generation X, the millennials, Generation Zs, or whatever the hell comes after millennials, they all lost that. So when you say create new jobs, what kind of new jobs are you speaking about? Are you talking about more minimum wage jobs? Because we understand that that is what is killing us right now. And you want to start the conversation with COVID. Let's really talk about how COVID is killing our community. We got people who are in lower paid jobs who are not considered essential workers. They don't have any business right now because the businesses are all closed, so they're not making any money whatsoever. There are a lot of small businesses that are not making any money. There's a lot of employees that are not making any money right now, and people are in bad situations. So when you say create new jobs, are we going to create more new jobs that don't even sustain people, that people cannot live? Let me tell you something, family. If y'all got a job right now where you're making your money despite COVID, you are blessed, because there are so many people in this country that do not have money because they are out of a job and they weren't making enough money to begin with to even have a savings. So the whole ideology of having 6 months saved so that if you run into a crisis situation, you can still survive, it don't matter for these people because they weren't even making enough money to even save 6 months worth of money. So when he says that he's going to create new jobs, the question I wanted him to be asked is, what kind of new jobs are you going to create and for who? Because we have these things where people always talking about new jobs, and we start to vote for people that say they're going to create new jobs. And he says, in transportation energy structure, what are you talking about? Has anyone said to him, what do you mean when you say transportation energy structure? What are you talking about? Give us a little bit more information on that. No, he didn't say that. But I know that something is brewing in the back of his head, and whoever are the people who are putting money in his back to control what he talks about, they have a plan. And this is how I know, is because the last part of that statement, he said, and that's how we built from the working class to the middle class. I want you guys to go back and I want you to do your research. Just go ahead and Google how the middle class was created. I know some of you guys on here, you guys understand what I'm talking about, but it says, if you go back and you research how the middle class was created, you will understand that the creation of the middle class was for specific people, and they did not look like us. They did not look like us. We were not a part of that plan. And I know that's hard for so many of us to understand because we want to be included in everything. We want to be included in every single thing. But if we look at the history of the political structure of this country and how our people have been disenfranchised, how our people have been taken advantage of, and how our people have been left the crumbs where everyone else has eaten the cake. You will see when he makes these kind of comments, he's not speaking to us. I'm going to prove to you guys how he's not speaking to us. Let me just give y'all a little history before I go on with Mr. Joe Biden about how the middle class was created. Because I know some of y'all know and some of you guys don't know, right? It says, if you go back to your history and you look at it, the middle class was created by two forces that happened in our history. The first force that happened was the Great Depression. And out of the Great Depression, FDR came up with the New Deal. And how FDR secured the Black vote was by making empty promises under the guise of the New Deal and how this was going to help Black people. Once he got the vote, the offices or the departments or the social entitlement programs that he said that he was going to give to us, he took away. He took away. The things that were left were not for us. So like the housing, the issue when it comes to housing, that wasn't for us. That actually helped white people because we were discriminated against during that time. So we have to understand when they say things like, and that is how we built from the working class to the middle class, we know that you're not talking about us. Because even in Black America, as it stands right now in current day, even the so-called middle class of Black America has no wealth. So they just have these titles. See, we like to always feel like we're included. We like to say, oh no, we middle class, right? Because if we say we middle class, it separates us from the working class or the working poor. So we really like to have this separation. We want to blend in with them so much. But the middle class ain't really us. And we look at us at large, it's not really us. We don't have any wealth. So when they say things like we're going to create the middle class, to me, that's a buzzword for me from the history, not because I'm excited like, oh yes, finally Black people are going to get an opportunity. We're going to move up in the social stratus. We're going to be higher on that totem pole. That's not true. Because I understand that these people have cold talk. And that's all he was out there on a Breakfast Club doing was a lot of cold talk. He wasn't speaking to our community of people, but we like to think that he was. Let me tell you the second thing that happened when they created the middle class. World War II helped to create the middle class as well. And what I mean by that is it created an expansion of new jobs because they had to create all these new jobs to help in the war ethics. But who were those new jobs created for? Because the new jobs that Joe Biden is talking about creating is not going to be for the middle class. It's going to be for the working poor. It's going to be more $12 an hour jobs, $14 an hour job. And no shade to the people that make $12 or $14 an hour. There's no shade, but that is the reality. Because what he's going to do and what any of them are going to do is give a whole bunch of tax breaks for the rich. And the rich is going to create more businesses. The rich is going to buy more real estate. They're going to do everything they need to do in their power to make their money grow because they understand how money works and they get the benefits. They get the tax cuts. They get all this support from the government. And we're the welfare recipients. But nonetheless, that's what they say, right? They get all this support from the government. And then they have us in menial working jobs making $12 an hour, $16 an hour, working ridiculous shifts. Some of us don't even have benefits. And while they're getting richer, we're staying poor. But when he starts talking about the working class to the middle class, he ain't talking about us. I promise you that he's not. Because in order for that to happen, you got to have opportunities to move from working class to middle class. Opportunities have to present himself, and he's not talking opportunities. So I wish that Charlemagne the God would have said to this joker, what do you mean? What kind of new jobs are you going to create? How are you going to create these jobs? Who are these jobs going to target? And we don't start asking these real questions for real answers, we're going to get more of the fluff out there. And I think that the minute we hear fluff, we have to shut it down. We have to shut it down. And that's why I'm upset with Charlemagne the God, because I don't know. I get why he brought him on to the Breakfast Club, but what I don't know, was if he was comfortable really speaking to Joe Biden, if he was comfortable challenging him, if he was comfortable stopping him from speaking. I don't know if he brought him onto the Breakfast Club on his own, because it ain't his show, you get what I'm saying? Or the powers that be wanted him to be on a Breakfast Club because they know they come on these kind of shows, just like going into a black church, right? To manipulate the minds of black people so that they can get the vote. There was no follow-up. There's a lot of buzz talks. And yes, that's right, Brian. Brian said that was not a real interview. It wasn't. It wasn't. It was a stage. It was a platform. That's all it was. It was not an interview because Charlamagne the God only spoke like 3 or 4 times. It wasn't an interview. It was a platform to give him a voice to bamboozle us and for us to go along with it. Thank you so much for the donation, John. I appreciate that. He says, but this time we have to address the institutionalized racism. This time we have to address it? Or are you only saying that, Joe Biden, because you hear the voice of the black people who are not with it anymore? You hear the voice of black influencers. You hear the voice of black communities. You hear the voice of the underdogs, the black underdogs, that we're not with it anymore. And like I posted on Facebook, we turning over tables and whipping ass. We're not hearing it anymore. We're not here for it. So are you using those buzzwords to make it seem like you're going to address something without giving us a plan of how you plan to address institutionalized racism? Now, the reason why I know that's a bold-faced lie that he's going to address institutionalized racism, because he's the father of institutionalized racism for when he implemented the crime bill, if you really think about it. But you know, if you fast forward to in the video, you know he has so many excuses for that. He didn't take any blame. He only wanted to take blame for things that he felt in that bill was working. And addressing institutionalized racism without a plan on how you're going to do it is more fluff. It's just lies. But we as a people family, we got to stop being moved by these words that sound nice. We got to stop being moved by people we think have our interests at heart because of who they so-called associate with. That is not enough anymore in 2020. We can no longer go by that. It's unacceptable behavior. It's willful ignorance. So what does this guy says? He goes on to talk about, let's go past some of this crap because he said a whole bunch of crap. So here's where I started to notice that he was lying. And I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about his history here so you can know that he was lying. He starts to talk about how black people love him, right? How black people just give him the votes, right? Because he was a public defender. He showed up for black people. He uses these things, but he doesn't give you guys any detailed information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in all the blanks for you from the research. And you can go ahead and Google it and find out for yourself. The man is a liar, but you know, maybe he's a liar, but maybe that word is too strong for some people's ears. Because, you know, some people are illusionary. They like fluffy stuff. They don't want things that's going to make them feel bad. So I would say he misrepresents himself. I'm going to use that. This man misrepresents himself. So this is what he says. He said he remembers when he said, I said Biden can't win, but I don't think he meant I said Biden can't win. I think he said, I remember when people said Biden can't win the primaries. I think he messed up there because he was slurring a lot. He says, I kicked everybody's ass. Excuse me, is what he says. And he goes, I won overwhelming. I told you when I got to South Carolina, won every county. I won a large share of the black vote than anybody has, including Barack. So he's setting the stage how much the black people love him, but he's talking about South Carolina. He says, I increased the vote in Virginia overwhelmingly by 70%. Then he says, what people don't know about me is I came from a state that is the 8th largest black population in America. Pause right there. What state did he come from, family? That is the eighth largest black population in America, because he damn sure ain't come from Flint, Michigan. And if I'm not mistaken, y'all gonna have to look this up and let me know if I'm wrong. But if I'm not mistaken, Flint, Michigan is the eighth largest black population in America. If I understand Joe Biden's history, didn't he come from Newcastle, Delaware? Didn't he come from Newcastle, Delaware? But not once did he say Delaware. But I'm going to give you guys the history. I'm going to give you guys all the facts. He says, I get 96% of that vote for the last 40 years for my black people. They are the votes, as they say in my way, brought me to the dance. That's how I get elected every time. So now you just throwing stuff in our face. You just making it seem like you just got this in the bag. You too damn comfortable. Just like Clinton was too damn comfortable. And I'm talking about Hillary, that is. She was too damn comfortable. She thought she had the votes in the bag. And so that's the sense that I got from Biden. He's coming off as arrogant, like he just got the black vote because South Carolina voted for you and allegedly Virginia. Really? He says, both young and old blacks vote for me. Come on, man. Give me a little break here. This is where I come from. What the hell is he talking about? At that moment when this fool was like, come on, man, give me a little break here. This is where I come from. That's where I envisioned this dude with a pair of shades on, with some windbreakers, a Kango to the back, some shades, and a Phillies blunt. Like, I don't know what the hell was this man thinking, but who was he speaking to like that? He was so trying to be so smooth. I don't know if Barack sat him down in the green room and said, nah, you got to do this. You got to do this. You got to do it like that. I don't know if he was getting coaching from Barack or some black people on his staff, some elite bourgeoisie, bootlicking black people on his staff. I don't know where he was getting his coaching from. But I'll tell you one thing. I think that behavior was highly, highly inappropriate. For you to be running for a position like presidency, you want to be the president, and you, come on, man, give me a little break here. This is where I come from. Where you come from? Newcastle, Delaware, my dude. What do you mean this is where you come from? Right? He says, let me tell you the story of coming home. And he never says where he came home to. He said, let me tell you a story about when I came home. Never said where he came home from. And getting a good job at a top law firm. I come from a lower middle income household. And I quit and became a public defender. So where did he become a public defender at? What's up, Sid? Sid said, did you get my text about the expanded mail-in voting scheme the Dems are trying to pull right now, disenfranchise U.S. citizens, black voters in particular? Yes, I did. And I'm doing research on that. I did. Thank you, Sid. I got that. And thank you for the donation. He says he was a public defender. So when you hear the word public defender, he starts talking about this is where the public defender, he started having these strategies about prosecutors need to give, the public defenders need to get paid as much money as prosecutors. He's talking to a select group of people. And he's talking about the public defender. But let me tell you something, family. He's using that to play on your emotions. He was a public defender for approximately 1 year in Wilmington, Delaware. And the one case that he was highly quoted on was helping a fisherman who allegedly stole a cow. Yes, you heard me right, family. Wilmington, Delaware, and he defended a stolen cow case. But he uses this to say that it was down with the black community. He was there helping the blacks. He says, I was the only guy when I was in high school. Listen to the slip up here. Pay attention to the slip up. I was the only guy when I was in high school. I had a job at a country club, and then he switched it. You got to listen to it. Slow it down on YouTube. I slowed down the speed of the video about 50%. He said country club. Country club. Kind of job with at a swimming pool. So he's all over the place. At a swimming pool. I was the only white guy in the east side. East side of what? It was the east side in Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware, or Newcastle, Delaware. Because I wanted to work at the projects. I wanted to understand that's how I get involved in politics. You see how that whole paragraph didn't even make sense. So he's just pulling out all these things that's going to pull on the heartstrings of other people to try to convince you that he's one of you. He's not one of you people. Because even during that time in the 70s, this dude was working at a country club. He said it. Go back and listen to it on his own at a swimming pool. Then he went on to talk about working in the projects, defending people. He was all over the place. But that right there lets me know, Joe, you don't have our lifestyle. You want to talk about lower middle income. You came from a lower middle income family. Let's talk about what the lower middle income family was in the 70s compared to black families. You came from a white family, Joe. Your struggle is not our struggle. So the reason why I say that is because Joe ain't talking to none of y'all. Joe just wants your vote. He's not talking to any of y'all. But for some reason, our community, especially South Carolina, apparently, according to Joe, we just affiliate Joe with goodness because he's tied to Barack Obama. And let me tell you something, family. Y'all gonna get mad at me, but I don't care. I don't care. Barack Obama has unmerited power in the black community. He didn't earn any power for us. He hasn't done anything for us. Unmerited power in the black community. And the reason why he was in that position, because black America put him there because he was so-called black. And the reason why I say so-called black, because he still doesn't have the experience of those of us who our total lineage comes from America. He doesn't have our experience. Barack Obama didn't even grow up like any of us. So how can you really tell me about a struggle, Barack? You don't know about the cops killing people in your community. I do. I grew up with that. You don't know about the cops coming through in New York City with mandatory frisk and all of us getting stopped, women and guys alike, just for walking down a block with 3 or 4 of us walking down the block to the store, and we all look up against the wall, getting frisked, getting berated, getting mishandled, getting roughed up. Barack don't have that experience. And Joe Biden don't know what that experience looks like firsthand. But we just go for all this stuff. We just go for all of this stuff. Let me go on to tell you another thing he said that was like, y'all need to really pay attention to this. He says, that's what this is all about for me. It's about equality. It's about dignity. It's about treating people with respect. Take a look at my record. Talk about the crime bill. This is where I got pissed off at Charlamagne the God, because he should have went in on him at this area. But instead, he let this joker come up with the bait and switch. Y'all go back and watch the video. Go back and watch the video. He came up with the ultimate bait and switch. Somebody here is saying Future 5001, 5001, whatever. It says Newcastle, Delaware is 26.4% black. Wilmington, Delaware is 58% black. And Newcastle, what I want you to do now is take those stats, because that's bad. So we know he's lying. But I want you to take those stats and I want you to apply those stats to 1972. Because I think he started there in 1969. See, everything has to be in context. Everything has to be in context. So if it's only 26% right now of blacks, what was it in 1969? What was it in 1972? Right? And now somebody is saying, Charles is saying, blacks make up a little over 21% of Delaware's population. But he said he comes from a state that is the eighth in black population. We know that that is a lie. It's a lie. He told a lot of lies. He talked about being a public defender. The only case you really noted for defending was a stolen cow by a fisherman. So you're lying there too. And you only was in there for like a year before you got elected to a public office. And then you was off with the races from there. Right? Right? And so we have to pay attention to kind of stuff. He goes into the crime bill. He says, people talk about the crime bill, the bill that did not increase mass incarceration. That is the ultimate bait and switch. And you have to understand that he needed to come on the Breakfast Club to make that damn statement because he wants us, our community, to hear it. He wants to get into our mind to shift our thinking. And so you got to also look at the population, the demographics of people who listen to the Breakfast Club. The demographics of people who listen to the Breakfast Club. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them are going to be the people who are not going to do research. Most of them are going to be the people who are persuaded by the message that people give. If they're charismatic with it, if they make the most sense, if they pull on their emotional strings more than other people, they're going to be persuaded that way. So when you come on there and you saying that the crime bill did not increase mass incarceration, and you start talking about that the state government did that, who do you think influenced the state government? When bills are created and laws are created in the federal level, it trickles down to the state level. And then they leave the discretion to the state to make their decisions. So the state now interprets the laws to their discretion, and they move with that. But he conveniently, that's right. That's why somebody said the clickbait crew. That's right. It's the clickbait crew. That's Nick. What's up, Nick? He immediately comes on to try to shift up that narrative, make the waters muddy, confuse you because of all the talk that is out there in our community that the crime bill was devastating to the Black community. And the only thing Charlemagne says is, are you going to talk about how the crime bill was devastated to the Black community? And you know, he said to Charlemagne, that's where you're wrong. And he had a lot of gibberish talk. He said, here's the deal. The one thing I oppose in that bill is people wanted to give money to state prisons to build more prisons. That's the first thing he said. Bait and switch. Listen, he said the point was on balance. That's all he kept saying. And basically what he's saying is there were a lot of things, without him actually saying it, there were a lot of things in that bill that was devastating to the Black community, but we was looking at balance. There was a lot of crime in the Black community as well. So we went for the bad stuff that was harmful in order for us to get what we was looking for, and we wanted to reduce the crime. So he's not going to take accountability. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like people that can't take accountability. This man took no accountability whatsoever, and he wasn't checked on it. He wasn't checked on it. So I don't know why Charlemagne the God didn't do a better job at checking this joker. I don't know if Charlemagne the God is not armed with research and data. I don't know if he understands the history of this country and where we are today and what is happening to us in terms of the political structure and the so-called political power that we do not have, but some people think we have it in the Black community. I don't know if he understands the nuances about politics in Black America in order for him to come up against Joe Biden and to govern and guide that interview correctly. I don't know. But Biden was doing a lot of bait and switch there, man. What else he said? He said the point was on balance. Everything from the assault women's ban to the violence against women's ban. I guess he meant the assault weapons ban. That's what I think he's talking about. But, you know, he was slurring and stuff. I don't know what he was speaking about. He says to the violence against women's ban, to the drug courts, they were important. And now look what we can do. Talking with colleagues, and he names his colleagues as the Black Caucus, dangerous, in the Congress. Change their entire, and he slurred something. I don't know what he said. It was a slur. when we've been doing this for a while? Change the entire prison system for one that is punishment to rehabilitation. The one thing that everyone in jail has in common, he went from that to that. What the hell is this man talking about? You want to know what he said about the one thing that everybody has in jail in common who's in jail? He says, they were victims of abuse, or their kids were, he stuttered, or their mother was. 2, they can't read. And they don't have any job skills. They were in a position where they did not get a chance. So everybody in jail, the things that they have in common is everyone in jail were abused or their mothers were abused. They can't read and they don't have job skills. So that's the bait and switch, right? So you don't talk about the systemic things outside before the person even got to jail. You don't even talk about the systemic issues that are stacked against us as a community. You come on a show to talk to the Black community without even addressing the things that continue to hurt us. But you use these buzzwords like mass incarceration, crime bill, creating new jobs. You work with the Black people. You quit your high-end lawyer job because you wanted to do the work with the people. You use all these buzzwords and these buzz statements and phrases, but you don't elaborate on anything. And Charlemagne didn't make you talk about anything. Charlemagne didn't make you break anything down. This is why we need strong people to interview people like Biden, because there was a lot of bait and switch that was going on. And if we don't really understand our own history and how not having these people bring anything tangible to the table, if we don't understand how that's damaging to our community, we're going to continue to lose. We're going to continue. I mean, I don't even want to go over the rest of the stuff that this man talks about. I mean, it was a whole bunch of gibberish. I mean, I wish I could just read it all in, but I'm almost out of time. It was a whole bunch of gibberish. And then he also went on to even more gibberish, talking about he has a manifesto for Black America. A manifesto for Black America. He says how, in fact, we're going to deal with the prison system. So he talks about that. He says his manifesto talks about that. He says his manifesto talks about if you are convicted of a crime, no one should go to jail for a drug crime, period, especially marijuana. He just jumped to that. Should be mandatory drug rehabilitation. Decriminalize marijuana. Researching long-term development on the brain. So Charlemagne was asking, what's the difference between legalizing and decriminalizing it? He said he doesn't want to legalize it yet because they're still researching the effects it has on the brain. He was just all over the place. So who cares about that? Let's get into the problems and then I'm out of here. I just really wanted to talk about that with you guys. Yes, Kelvin says it was all nonsense. Couldn't watch it at all. Kelvin, I watched all 18 minutes of it. And the reason why I got on here today to give it to you that way, guys, because I wanted you to hear how it sounds and how it's all over the place and it leads to nothing. Here's the problems that I see, and I'm out of here. His diction, his speech, right? The way he went about enunciating his words, the way he delivered his words. I think it was a mockery to the Black community. I think it was insulting. I think it was insensitive. I think it was offensive, right? It bothered me. Another thing that bothered me was his mindset toward the Black community. Like, he doesn't respect us as a community. He wants to just brag on the votes that he got out of South Carolina, brag about the votes he got out of Virginia, talk about he's been doing this for 40 years. He's been winning the votes for 40 years. Like, he was just so comfortable with it. It's a lack of respect for our voice. Is a lack of respect for our struggle. Is a lack of respect for not acknowledging what we are going through. You want to talk about mass incarceration without talking about the systemic injustices that get us into prison. You don't want to address death by law enforcement. That is a serious topic in our community that needs to be addressed. Nobody wants to address death by law enforcement. That is a problem. You don't want to address the failing school system, the inequities in our education system and our healthcare system. You don't want to address the communities and the people that come into our communities that harm us. You don't want to address any of that stuff. So I think it's a disrespect or a lack of respect to the Black community, because it's not that they don't know the stuff that hurt us. It's not that they do not know the stuff that we complain about. They do know. They are just refusing to address it. Another problem I have is that he minimizes the power of the Black vote. He minimizes the value of the Black vote. He didn't have to have a conversation about what it is we will be looking for, period. No one seems to ask us that. No one seems to say, Charlamagne, from your opinion, what are some of the issues in the Black community you would like to see me address? What are some of the things that you think that we need to really take a serious look at to start changing? And who are some of the people in place that we can put on advisory boards? Or who are some of the people you think would be a great person for me to sit down and talk to? See, when you respect the Black person, the Black community, the Black vote, you're going to engage in a dialogue, not a monologue. They know who the voices are, but they are refusing to speak to us and wonder why they are going to lose again. And yes, I do say that confidently. They're going to lose again. You cannot continue to disrespect us as a community. You cannot continue to minimize our votes as a community. You cannot continue to devalue our power as a community. It's a lack of respect for us. You come to speak to us by using our platforms, but you don't properly acknowledge us. You talk about what you want to talk about. How about you ask us what we need to see change? And this is the problem with the bougie and the bourgeoisie among us and the elitists among us and the people who want their manumission papers among us. As they would say, the bootlickers among us, the bread and butter biscuit people among us. This is the problem with that community, because no one holds these people accountable. No one brings critical discussion with tangibles to the table. Everybody just wants to have intellectual debates. Everybody just wants to have feel good, sound good conversations. Everybody wants to be on mass media or mainstream media platforms so that they can get their next hookup or their next setup. And when we have people like that in our community who do not hold these politicians accountable, they also do us a disservice. The people who do not hold these people accountable, they do us a disservice, because what they are doing is indirectly muting our voices. They're muting our voices. Here's another problem I have. Joe Biden is the epitome of how Democrats treats Blacks and how Democrats treats the Black votes. He is the epitome of that. And Democrats are too comfortable. They're too comfortable among us. They really do think they just got it in the bag. Like, when are you going to learn? The new civil rights is among us. You're not speaking to the same people my mother was, right? You're not speaking to the same generation of people as my mother. You're not speaking even to some of us in 1996. We are not the same pre-2012. Many of us, not all of us, and some of us is already woke before 2012, but many of us had an awakening in 2012 with Trayvon Martin. You're not speaking to the same of us because trauma has transformed us. Our traumatic experiences in this world has transformed us, and our eyes have opened. And the internet has helped us to acquire the information we need to make informed decisions. We are now analyzing things that are happening to us and we're not going for it. So to come on to one of our shows and just disrespect who we are, you're going to learn again. A hard head makes a soft ass. You're going to learn again. And I say that confidently, and I'm okay with that. Thank you for the donation, Julie. That's right. They are going to learn this year in 2020. They're going to learn because we're not having it. And we're not going to be bullied by the Black people that support them. You don't hurt our feelings. You can't bamboozle us with your non-critical discussions. Your statements make no goddamn sense. If you don't vote for Biden, you voted for Trump. That is the most asinine, stupid comment I've ever heard in my life. It holds no critical grounding. That means you don't understand the landscape of America. You don't understand who showed up for those votes. You don't understand that we're only 13% of the population. So that's got to tell you something. But we make stupid ass comments like that to try to shame us. And you are not shaming us in 2020. It's not going to work. Another thing that was a problem for me is Biden's tone. Biden's tone was aggressive. He was aggressive. The way he even controlled the conversation was aggressive. I'm sitting here like, how you come to Charlamagne's apartment? So it ain't a house, because you know Charlamagne don't own the Breakfast Club. Charlamagne don't own Power 105.1. So that's why I say his apartment, you know, he's renting that. And you got to be careful, right? Because you make too much noise in an apartment, you violate the lease, the terms of living in that apartment, you're going to get kicked out. So I understand why Charlamagne was quiet, but we can't have people like that no more representing us. That's just my opinion, right? We can't have nobody like that representing us anymore. Because if you are afraid to make your landlord at the Breakfast Club, Charlamagne, upset, if you push back against Joe Biden, if you are afraid of it, how are you even trying to be a voice for the Black community? See, where we are at right now, we can't tiptoe around people anymore. We can't tiptoe around people. We can't try to be all inclusive of everybody in fear of hurting somebody's feelings. Because when it comes to everybody else, they don't give a flying F-U-C-K if they hurt our feelings. They don't care. And you know what? When it comes to everybody else, when it comes to representing us, they pick and choose what they're going to fight for when it comes to us and what they're not. And more often than not, they let us know that even the stuff that concerns us as a problem don't concern them. And even if it does concern them, it's not too much of a concern for our so-called allies to speak out against publicly. So Charlamagne did exactly what they do. And let this joker insult our intelligence as a community of people. There's no more space for pussyfooting. There's no more space for straddling the fence. There's no more debating with people that go by the mindset to vote blue no matter who, because people like slogans. They like to get that kind of stuff programmed in their mind. There's no more space for those kind of people. Family, we got to be on code. We need not to be going onto forums debating with people like that. If you don't want to delete them, block them, and ban them, just don't communicate with them. Don't share nothing they put out there. Don't help further their narrative, because what they're doing is they're helping people like Joe Biden, who hasn't earned our vote, right? So no more straddling the events, the defenses. You know, he has a sense of entitlement, Joe Biden, that is. He has a sense of entitlement, and he is riding the back of Obama's legacy, his unmerited legacy, his unmerited reputation. And I want to be sure to emphasize that it's unmerited. He's riding the back of that. And that is what is causing some people in our community to vote blue no matter who. Because for some reason, they have associated this man with Barack. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. I'm not sorry. That's a figure of speech. You know how we say, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm unapologetic. But there's no room for any more Barack Obamas. I'm sorry. There's no room. There's no room. There's no room. That shop has been closed. There's no more room for voting for people who eat fried chicken among our community just to say they down with us. That's insulting in and of itself. There's no more room for people who wobble just to say that they resonate with us. It's insulting and it's racist in nature. There's no more room for it. There's no more room to joke about hot sauce being in your purse. There's no more room for it. That's right. That's right. Somebody said hot sauce. There's no more room to joke about hot sauce being in your purse. It's not cute. It's not cute. You might make the older population laugh. You ain't making us laugh. It's not cute. It's not cute. Right? There's no more room. That's right, for the cha-cha side. There's no more room for coming out there on the stage, singing in your Barry White voice, singing a black song. There's no more room for it. There's no more room saying, sister. That's right, sister. You my brother. You my family. There's no more room for that. We're not falling for the jive turkey stuff. There's no more room for it. It's insulting and it's rooted in racism. There's no more room for it. There's no more room for black folk that think it's cute and black folk who are afraid to say African Americans, who are afraid to say descendants of enslaved Africans, who are afraid to call it what it is. There's no more room for black folks that flatten blackness. There's no more room for it. There's no more room for people who hide behind terms like people of color. There's no more room for it. There's no more room for it. And if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, y'all got to do your research. There is no more room for it. There is no more room for civil rights cakes being handed out where our community gets the crumbs. There is no more room for it. There's no more room for not coming to the table without a plan. There's no more room for it. We're not doing it. If you don't have room for it, we can't do it. Somebody said no more room for what? I got to see what somebody says so I can laugh, because y'all funny in this community. I love it. Somebody said, no more room for skinny and grinding for nothing. No, for skimming and grinding for nothing. No more room for any of it. We cannot do it. No more switching bait to deflect blame. Talking about, oh, that's what Hillary wanted. That's not the reason why there was mass incarceration. There's no more room for it. We're not doing it anymore. We're not doing it anymore. Because we're not benefiting from this. So here's what's going to happen. And I'm out. You're right. Somebody said, unfortunately, the senior black people still love and soak it up. Yeah, but you know something? The senior black people wasn't enough in 2016. Because you know why? Because for those of us that know there is no more room, we're not showing up. We're not. We're going to do our local votes. We're going to do our local votes. We're going to do those things. But when it comes to the presidency, we ain't showing up. That's it. And what gets me so frustrated is because so many people, well, it doesn't get me frustrated. Let me use a different word, because I'm not frustrated. I sit back and I laugh. I'm laughing. I'm going to have my popcorn on that day. And I'm going to try to stay awake as long as possible when the voting starts happening. Right. And then I'm going to go to sleep like I did in 2016. And I'm going to wake up and I'm going to look to the left and to the right of all the people who are going to be crying. And I'm not going to be one of them. I'm not going to be crying. Because at the end of the day, I ain't beat. When you really want to start respecting us, you're going to have a conversation with us. And when I say with us, I'm not talking about your celebrities. I'm not talking about your Al Sharptons of the world. I'm not talking about people who don't represent us, people that just go on CNN with their little platform and because they got a loud mouth and they look gaudy and loud that they have a little platform. I'm not talking about those people. Y'all know who I'm speaking about when you say you gotta sit down, you gotta talk to us. Right? I don't care. So here's what's gonna happen. The progressive liberal media will downplay what happened on the Breakfast Club. They will downplay it. They're going to make it all disappear. You're going to see how powerful they are, right? They're going to make it all disappear. The so-called Black liberal elites will protect him, right? The so-called Black liberal elites are going to protect them. They're going to get very loud on television. They're going to have all these little forums on television. They're going to start insulting those of us who are B1, who's on code no matter what family, right? Whether you FBA, whether you're Pan-African, whether you ADOS, we are all on code. They're going to get mad. They're going to start berating us. They're going to use non-critical thinking tactics. Like, if you don't vote for Biden, you vote for Trump. They're going to do stupid things like that. And we can't be moved. We're not moved by it whatsoever. We don't care. Get mad all you want. I've been berated on Twitter. I've been berated. Yeah, somebody said the NAACP, them too. I've been berated on so many different platforms. And guess what? I don't care. As you can see, I haven't stopped talking. As you can see, I haven't stopped researching. As you can see, I haven't stopped delivering the information. I don't care that you are in your bag. You're not going to bully me, because your bullying is just like the card-carrying Klan members trying to scare us. You're not going to scare us. It isn't going to work. We already are on to you, and I'm letting you guys know that the Black liberal elite is going to try to bully you guys into voting for Biden. And if you're B1 family, if you ADOS family, if you FBA family, if you're Pan-African family, we are not here for it today. It ain't going to happen. All right. All right. We got that. Another thing that's going to happen is African-American voters who voted for this guy is going to overlook him. They don't care. They can come up with an article that he was a little boy at a public lynching during Jim Crow era. I mean, they can come up with an article. They can have a video. They can have it in print. They can have pictures, and Black Americans will still vote for him. Right? They will still vote for him. Those are the people we need to pay attention to. And I'm talking about in our family. Those are the people that we need to pay attention to. Those kind of African Americans, those are the people we need to call out. Those are the people we need to put to the side because they're working against what we're doing here. Those are the people we have no room for whatsoever. Right? So Blacks need to understand. They need to fully understand the cost that is associated with handing out votes on the basis of a handshake and without tangibles. We need to understand that. We want tangibles. What are you going to do for us? And we understand that we are putting you in a precarious situation where you don't really want to talk to just us because your code language lets many of us know that you are not just speaking to us and you have no intention to do everything for us or anything for us, period. You have no intentions to do it. And you know why they have no intentions of doing it? I mean, there's a lot of reasons why, but I'm going to give you one of the reasons why I believe they have no intentions on doing it, because we haven't made them do it. We are still spending our money with them. What's our spending power, family? $1.2 trillion, I believe, is our spending power. We are still spending money with them. We still forgive them when they wrong us. We still sweep it under the rug. The minute the next big thing comes out in the news, we forget about the stuff we were angry about and we go back to the entertaining stuff. We are split within our community already. Nobody wants to hear this kind of stuff. Our community, for some reason, too many of us in our community, the minute they hear politics, their ears get turned off. They don't want to have political conversations. They just want to go to the ballot on the day of the election and just vote blue. Right? So we have to understand the cost that is associated with that. Everything that is happening to us today is happening for a reason, right? We got a little bit too comfortable with the narrative that they have been feeding down our throats with the civil rights and what Dr. King allegedly died for. No one tells you the real story. And now that we know the real story, we have no more excuses. We have no more excuses while we keep allowing these people to get away with murder, while we keep allowing these people to use us, while we keep allowing these people to profit from us, while we keep allowing these people to extract our votes and give us nothing in return. We keep allowing it. We keep allowing it. The Civil Rights Act did not come about from us just allowing it and from us using terms like all people, from us using terms like people of color. No, that is not how the civil rights came about. And if you need to understand how that came about, you got to go back and do your research. I don't care how boring you might think it is. Take your time and pick up the right books and start reading. Come on, family, list some books on there. List some books on there that they should read, what they should know about. And I'm not just talking about books like Black. I always hear people say, "Oh, what is that? Black Labor, White Wealth." Yes, that's a great book, but that's not the only book, right? We gotta read books that really tell us the truth, right? So list it out there for the community hackers. We all about giving people information, right? List it out there, right? Put it out there. We got to understand that there is a community of people, black and white alike, that keep ignoring two categories of people. The categories of people they keep ignoring are non-voters and the down voters, the people that they skip over the presidency. And my brother Nick was telling me about that. And they just vote down in whatever category they're going to vote down on it, but they skip over the presidency. These are the people that keep getting ignored. The non-voters and the down voters. Those are the strategic voters. Y'all cannot keep ignoring us. You cannot keep ignoring us. Not black folk, not white folk. Can't keep ignoring us. Another group of people that we are ignoring are the Latino voters. Because we have in our heads that they stand with us. Who's us? Who do they stand with? Just because when one of us on TV has a platform and we bring on the person from the so-called brown coalition, don't mean they really stand with us. You got to understand how voting works and how people classify. And there's an overwhelming majority of Latino and Latina voters who classify as white. And when we look at those stats, when we look at those numbers, when it came to the 2016 election, those who classify as white and those who are honorary whites, y'all know what I mean when I say honorary whites, they voted for Trump. There's more of those people collectively than it is us in America. We're 13%. We're 13%. So everyone is busy talking to the black voter as a strategy to put the blame on us. Meanwhile, those who classify as white, including Latinos, already know what they're going to do. They already know who they're going to vote for. And it is not Biden. You best to believe it. Right? Another group of people that we keep ignoring and we ought to not ignore are working class people of all types, not just blacks, working class people and low income people. The Democrats don't speak to those people. They are invisible. But those are the people that I represent. And they have needs and they have a voice. You're just choosing not to listen to them. So it's those people who also voted for Trump. And guess what? It's going to be those people who are going to vote for Trump again. See, we got to really pay attention. Thank you for that, Lisa Booker. She says, yes, Dr. Darity, Dr. William Darity, From Here to Equality, an excellent book. My brother Nick is reading that book. So you got to make sure you read that book. From Here to Equality. He talks about the case of reparations in that book. You guys have to read that book, right? So let me go back to the working class and the low income class. And I'm not just talking about Black people. They're struggling. We see it right now with COVID. They're struggling. People can't pay their rent. And Biden ain't talking nothing. He ain't talking nothing for those people. He really isn't. And y'all don't like Trump, and that's okay. I'm not caping for Trump. I don't cape for none of them. They're both the same devil to me, right? But let me tell y'all his strategy. Because when a lot of those poor people, the working class poor, the low income people, when they got that stimulus check, they were happy. Those who are collecting unemployment and they're getting an additional $600 on top of that unemployment, they are happy. That is all a strategy. You hear me? That is all a strategy. And guess what? They're going to vote for him again. These are the populations of people that keep on getting ignored. Keep on getting ignored by the Democrats. But those are the people that we have their ear. So people don't want to respect our informal power, and that's okay. But you cannot deny that informal power exists. You don't want to respect it. You will respect it in 2020. If your ass have not learned in 2016, you will decide to respect it this time around. Right? So we have to really understand for those kind of things. You know, Joe Biden is protecting his ass. And you know why I know he's protecting his ass? Because when you decipher all his gibberish, you got to write it out. I transcribed his whole speech. I transcribed it because I needed to hear the gibberish he was talking. And what I pick up in his gibberish, and you guys, family, let me know if you pick it up. I pick up in his gibberish that he's talking to suburban, upper middle class, white voters. He's talking to suburban, upper middle class, white voters. And I'm going to tell you why I know he's talking to those people. Because he said that he will not increase taxes on those people who make less than $400,000. He will not increase taxes on people who make less than $400,000. Well, who the hell is in the $200,000 to the $400,000 range? Because most of them don't look like us people. So when you say that, when you up it to $400,000, you're not going to increase taxes on people who are making $400,000. I think Barack was 200,000 or 250,000. He wasn't going to increase taxes on people who made less than 200 or 250,000, but his is 400,000. Who's he talking to? You got to listen to all the things. That's right. Somebody said in the immigrants. You're absolutely right. But see, you got to understand the immigrants is the funny one. The reason why I didn't include them in my category, because the immigrants this time around might vote for him because they're using fear tactics to shift the mindset of immigrants. You know, the concentration camp, with Trump's campaign, build that wall, all this stuff. They're using fear tactics. So the immigrants might shift. And people who have relatives who are considered immigrants, right? They might shift. So that's why I didn't include them. But your statement is duly noted, right? Who else we need to pay attention to? So the voters that are out there are primarily those who classify as white, those who have real estate, those who have higher incomes, those who have businesses, corporations, nonprofits. Those are the people that we got to really pay attention to, because those are the ones that are out there voting, because they're trying to protect their interests. So they're not worrying about poor black folk. They're not worrying about poor white folk. They ain't worrying about poor folk, period. Everybody's protecting their own but us. So the strategy, family, is to really start taking your time before the elections come up and read to understand why our vote really does matter and why they try to come after us, why they're always targeting us. You got to understand the whys behind it. And if we're not asking the whys, we're not being critical in our thoughts. And if we're not critical in our thoughts, we're not able to be critical in our discussions. Right? So that's all I really have. I just want you to know that Joe Biden, his strategy is all based on influential power. And if you know about influential power, you know what I'm talking about. But you got to understand that he's using his relationship to black power structures. When he mentions the NAACP, when he mentions the Black Caucus, right? He's using his relationship to those power structures in order for him to have an effect on the black community. So that's why he's constantly naming them. The NAACP supports me all the time, endorses me all the time. The Black Caucus, my colleagues, we sat down and we came up with this together. He's using that so he can know, so he can let you guys know that he is so-called a part of the black community. That is part of influential power. You got to be careful about that kind of stuff. Biden's power lies in his social ability to control or harness the black vote in conjunction with black power forces. He can't do anything without black power forces, because it is the black power forces, the NAACP, the Black Caucus, and other organizations that support Joe Biden. It is them that then goes out there and they rally up everybody else. They rally up the church. They rally up their sorority sisters. They rally up their fraternity brothers. They rally up their little people that go to their $350 plate galas. They rally up all these people, and at these little functions and these events, they're telling them to vote for Biden. Biden can't do what he does without that relationship, without those kind of relationships. And that's why we have to call people like that out. We can't be afraid to do it, right? We gotta challenge them too. We have to ask them, what are they asking for? What are the tangibles? And you will see exactly who those kind of people are, because they're not asking for anything for black people either. They're going under the disguise of people of color, right? People of color. They go under that umbrella, and we already know how that worked out for us, right? You gotta be careful with that, right? And the fact that Joe Biden may be psychologically impaired has no bearing on what these people are willing to do for him to try to get him into the chair. So I leave this by saying social power, the power that we have, the power that Biden has as well, should not be ignored. We should never ignore it, because it has the ability to create, maintain, and change social structures. So just like he has his power, and the people that he's associated with, they have their power to create, maintain, and change social structures, so do we. So do we. So brothers and sisters, remember your power. My B1 family, my ADOS family, my FBA family, my Pan-African family, remember your power. My Moorish family, remember your power. My Nation of Islam sisters and brothers, remember your power. Remember your power. We're not moved by these jokers, right? They cannot control our behaviors, our social behaviors, with this propaganda tactics and this BS. They can't do that. They cannot control us, and they will not control us. They will not dictate our actions. They will not dictate our social actions and our social engagements with others. They will not dictate that. See, because Biden, he operates on illusionary tactics in the black community, right? So the illusionary tactics is the Black Hawk is like they speak for all of us. They don't. The illusionary tactics is shifting blame from himself to the Clintons and everybody else but him. It ain't going to work over here. Illusionary tactics is pitting voters against non-voters and down voters. Illusionary tactics. Illusionary tactics are fear-based strategies. Illusionary tactics are feel-good language. We're not doing any of that, right? We're not doing any of that. So that's all I have for you guys today. Yes, that's right. All family members get on board. Black Lies, White Lies by Tony Brown. Oh, yeah. Make sure y'all read that book. Black Lies, White Lies by Tony Brown. Get that in your library. I hope you guys have been looking at the chat. I hope you guys started to write down books that people have been putting in there. Somebody says, Mary Frances Berry, history teaches us to resist. I got to write that one down. History teaches us to resist. I'm going to have to put that on my list because I didn't read that one. Somebody said we don't need another party to sit. We influence the outcomes of elections by being nonpartisan, swing voters, or non-voters. That's right. That's right. I don't know why we cape for one party. Oh, Democrat. Oh, Republican. How about none of them? How about cape for the person who's bringing tangibles to the table? I don't care if the person got one eye, one leg, and only speaks in sign language. If you're going to take your one arm that you have and sign into a bill that protects us, then we got a conversation going on. You got my support. Right? We need to not be afraid to hold people accountable. There's one thing Trump said that I laughed about, but it was rooted in some truth. I mean, it was rooted in racism too, but the one thing he said that was rooted in truth when he said, come on, Black people, my Black Americans, what do you got to lose? Listen, we are losing our lives. We're losing our lives. So to hold your vote, what do you have to lose? To make people talk about tangibles, what do you have to lose? We already losing. We already losing. What do you have to lose? I'm out. I'm out. Thank you, Deneen. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Somebody said America can survive a Trump. Black people can't survive another Trump. Americans can survive a Trump. Black people, apparently we haven't been surviving anybody. And that's the part that we tend to overlook. Y'all forgot that those strings of killing happened way before Trump happened. Did you in 2008 with the housing boom, the housing bust, we lost our wealth overnight and we have not built it back up since. Like, why do we do things like that? Why do we do things like that? Like we're not looking at it. You see, and most of the time, and I don't know, and this is nothing to the brother, you are entitled to your opinion. And I respect everyone's opinion, but I'm going to challenge some things. Just like you challenge me, I'm going to challenge you. I don't understand why we make those kind of comments. And it's those people that want to go back. And if you're going to be honest, I want to know, how old are you? What year were you born in? Because there's a certain generation of people who had their cushion protected. My generation of people and my children's generation, they don't have a protected cushion. We don't have secure jobs anymore. Like, when we make those kind of comments, it's crazy. So Ronald said, no, you took it out of context. Then I don't understand what you're saying, because you just said that Black people can't survive a Trump. So what are you indicating? If we can't survive a Trump, who are you saying that we ought to get? Who? They said America can't survive Trump. Yeah, but your response to that person was America can survive Trump. Blacks cannot survive Trump. So if Blacks cannot survive Trump, the question that I'm asking is who are you indicating we vote for? I want to understand you. I agree 100% with you. Not vote for either of them. Okay. All right. I got you. All right. Because, sometimes, and I have to ask you those questions, Ronald, because sometimes people make those questions. And when I dig deeper into their backgrounds, they're part of the boomer generation. And there's no offense to the boomers, but the boomers were able to stack their coins and they was able to build some aspects of wealth. We don't have that anymore. That's not for us. Inflation kicks our asses. Inflation kicks our asses. We can't even afford to live. And when the whole housing crisis happened and that changed, it made it even harder for us to acquire real estate. Thank you. See, and I'm that kind of person. I want to give to that clarity, Ronald, because I don't want to go off on somebody without understanding them. I want to really try to understand them before I go off on the answer. So, you got spared. But it is important. And I agree with the race analysts. We did survive all 45 of those presidencies. So when people make statements like blacks can survive, no, we have been surviving since before 1619. And that's what I mean when I say we got to be careful about those kind of narratives, because those kind of narratives, they come from fear-based strategies. And I just said, family, we got to watch out for fear-based strategies. We've been surviving since before 1619. So what makes people think we can't do that now? When we were best at it? We were best at it when we understood politics. We were best at it when we worked together. We were best at it when we were segregated. We were best at it when we make sure we put together our own political parties. We were best at it when we policed our own community. We were best at it when we educated our own children. We were best at it when we had our own forms of entertainment and our own hospitals and our own movie theaters and our own everything. We were best at it. We were best at it. So we can survive anything. Anything. We got to get our minds out of this way of thinking that we need them. Baby, they need us. And that's why they keep coming after our votes. They need us. Because we influence America. Oh, that's a whole nother video. Y'all got me done started tonight. I have never been on here this goddamn long in my life. Y'all got me started. We influence America. Everybody comes to the black person because of our informal power. And for some reason, at large, we don't seem to get it. We always want validation from these jokers. What you want validation for? Anything we do. Man, look, I'm about to get the hell on out of here. Y'all got Harriet tell me. You see Harriet tell me? Y'all got her coming out of me. I got to get the hell on out of here. Let me tell you something. We got to stop with that mindset. Somebody says NAFTA, gutted affirmative action, and lack of unions has caused generation and future generations to lose. Absolutely. Absolutely. Dismantling those things. That was our protection. And that's what I mean when I say the boomer population, they benefited from that. We are screwed. We are living paycheck to paycheck, trying to hold on a house just to say we got a house, but we can barely make mortgage payments. And every time we refinance it, we add another 10, 15, 20, 30 years into our house. By the time we die, not even our children going to own the house. We just don't have that luxury anymore. Man, look. Gotta get out of here. I'm out. I got things to do. Let me go and get into some trouble tonight. Y'all see my face? I'm going to get into some trouble. I'm free tonight. I'm going to go to a Corona party. Who throwing a Corona party? Joking, I ain't going to no goddamn Corona party. I'm out. I'll see y'all later. I have another conversation I'm going to be talking to y'all about. We're going to be talking about how our influential power is hijacked by other people outside of our community. Everybody makes a profit off of who we are, off of our talent, our swags, our body anatomy. Everybody benefits but us. And that's going to be my next topic. I'll see y'all later. Be blessed.